Hello and welcome to the Arsenal Bite Size Podcast. I'm your host Clayton at Clates AFC on Twitter. Happy Friday. We are back. It feels like it's been a very stressful period to be an Arsenal fan, and I'm hoping that with a nice win against Bolton midweek, a nice combination of fringe players, some senior first teamers, and then obviously Hayland tearing it up. I'm hoping this is the start of a nice stress-free week where we've got Leicester, we've then got PSG at home. That might not be stress-free, and then Southampton at home to preview the Leicester game. I'm joined by my co-host at FPL Nima. How are we doing?
Yeah, good to see you, Clayton. Looking forward to this preview today. Yeah, was really happy about the Bolton game. Loved listening to your solo pods throughout the week. For anyone who's missed them, there's some great stuff there and lots of stuff to celebrate for Hayland.
Yeah, big time. That's for anyone that's not listened to it, go and check it out and let me know what you think. We're gonna try keep this one rapid today. We, like Arteta said in his press conference, without Martin Ødegaard, we need to be efficient. So in our match preview, we're gonna be efficient. So with that in mind, the predicted lineups. So I don't know if you've seen the quotes on David Raya. That seems to have upset a lot of people. But in general, I think that the team, when I say upset people, I must say the FPL community, obviously. The general team news was really interesting, though. Like Timber trained today. He's back in the squad. Arteta's hopeful on Ben White. Tomiyasu's partially training. Marino's ahead of Tomiyasu in the schedule and hopefully back next week. Who else was there that he spoke about? He said Miles Lewis-Skelly's fine. And for any Arsenal fan, I'd highly recommend watching that press conference because it was really good to get his insight on kind of specific players, like why he wanted Neto as the goalkeeper and the fact that they've been tracking him for so long, what he thinks Marino will bring. And like his comments on Marino was so encouraging. And yeah, the way he spoke about the youth integration as well. But we're here to predict the lineup. We've got Leicester at home. Any thoughts for you? Do you think? Let's start with David Raya in goal. You think he's going to start tomorrow?
I think he is personally, but I wouldn't be shocked if Neto started, and I wouldn't be concerned if he started either. So for me, I'm happy either way.
Why do you think Raya will start?
Yeah, so I feel that we're just kind of emphasizing the point against all the media backlash this week that like our players were going down and performing dark arts and as if we're at fucking Hogwarts. Yeah, like honestly, just some absolute bollocks. But separate to all that, I just think he's just re-emphasizing the point that like our players were truly down and all of them got subbed or injured. So like the likes of Timber and all these guys were actually suffering. It wasn't just like time wasting tactics, is what I'm getting at.
Interesting. Yeah, I thought the same until I just reflected on it, and I was just like, as nice as it was for 16-year-old Porter to play in goal on Wednesday, I don't think, as much as Arteta played other 16 and 17-year-olds, I don't think the goalkeeping position is the one he would have liked to play a kid in. And I do think if Raya was closer to being okay than it's being led on, that he would have been, even if it wasn't in the starting 11, on the bench and in the squad. I think this is one where it's kind of open to interpretation and like there's no right or wrong. I read those quotes and my instinct is I think Neto's going to play. I personally think with PSG on the horizon, I think Leicester's a game where we'll talk about score predictions and stuff. They're not going to have many shots, especially of good quality. And Neto's not a bum. Like, I think that's the thing. Like, he's an experienced goalkeeper. So I personally took it as I don't think Raya will be ready, but I'm probably wrong on that. In terms of other areas, he said he's hopeful on Ben White. He spoke a little bit about Nwaneri. In defense, do you think? Okay, so you said you think Raya will be in goal. Do you think there'll be any changes to the starting 11 that started last Sunday? Like Trossard's obviously a consideration there. Nwaneri, Ben White, Timber, Calafiori, who starts in the fullback positions. Any changes for you?
I think Ben White starts and Timber's safe for PSG. That's kind of like my view on it. So I think it's going to be a Ben White Calafiori lineup. And I think Calafiori is going to be the one tasked with breaking down the low block that we're going to face at home without Martin Ødegaard. So that kind of finding a new solution. And I know you've talked a lot about his ball carrying abilities and his chaos and kind of just arriving in random areas of the pitch and dragging players to him like a magnet to free up others. And I really liked when you did the episode as well, just another plug for that, of like how we might play without Ødegaard. And I don't think we had these options last season. And a team like Leicester, I wouldn't expect us to need both Timber and Calafiori to operate in that way. And I just think Timber's going to be vital against PSG.
Interesting. I'd say this is probably the first episode where we're like disagreeing is the wrong words, but like just got different thoughts on it. I think it will be Timber and Calafiori, but just on the perspective of what you said there, like last year we didn't have these options, and I do think like Ben White, it was said, played through an injury last Sunday. And I think historically we have seen in like a block of 7, even with Champions League games, Arteta does tend to start the same 11 even 3 times in 7 days. And I think he'll use this opportunity with Timber being available to manage Ben White's workload at the minute. I just think like he's played through injury before. The fact that he did it last Sunday, I think he'll use this as an opportunity to. I think Timber will start all 3 games this week, because then, granted, it's PSG on Tuesday, but then we don't play Southampton until the following Saturday. So we do have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then in between Southampton and Bournemouth, we've got a whole week before another international break. So I think he'll look at it as a little block and look at it as an opportunity to maybe ease off Ben White, get him on the tanning beds during the international break and look for Timber. But yeah, that's my personal opinion. Again, I could be wrong. So you're going with Raya, White, Saliba, Gabriel, Calafiori. Midfield and attack for you?
I think it's the same lineup as City for the rest of the team. Jesus played like the full 90, I think, and he just doesn't quite look right to me. So I just can't see how he keeps Trossard out. Like the only reason I would imagine Trossard not starting is if it was some kind of punishment for like the red card. And I've already seen him get punished, right? So
is this him carrying the? Do you think that's what it was?
Yeah, because I remember when I was 17, I was in Japan and we used to play football with the school, the high school. When you had the weekend match, like anyone who like was in trouble would be like tasked to take home like these giant boxes on the trains in Tokyo. You've seen the videos; they got jobs. People have jobs to push people in, right? So you're there like as a kid in a uniform with like 3 of these juice boxes, and you got to take it home, clean them, and bring them back to school the next day, all in rush hour. And you're like not able to get on trains, and people are pushing you around. And so I saw that, and it just gave me a little giggle because I was like, oh, Leo's being forced to carry all of it.
That's a really nice cultural story, actually. I always love learning about other things, but that would be like, I think the one thing we've heard about Arteta is he takes so much inspiration from other sports, other cultures. That would be very Arsene Wenger going to Japan for inspiration on discipline. So I could definitely see that. But you're going for the same midfield and attack. Then you don't think Nwaneri starts, and you don't think Trossard will be punished by being demoted to the bench.
I think if all goes to plan and we're leading, I'd like to see Nwaneri come in around 60th minute if possible, so he gets enough, like a good amount of minutes. I'd like to see him start at home against Southampton from there, but I wouldn't personally start him straight away. Well, as in, I would love to start him straight away. I just don't think Arteta would personally. So when I'm just kind of thinking in his head, like I just can't see a world in which he gives him those back-to-back starts. He might surprise us though.
I'm glad you made that distinction, because I do think it's 2 different things in terms of what we do versus what Arteta will do, or what we think he'll do. Because I'm the same. This is a game I would start Nwaneri in, but I don't think he will. I'm the same as you. I think he seemed quite cautious when he spoke about him, both after the game against Bolton and in his presser today ahead of Leicester. And like, he had praise for him, but when I say cautious, it wasn't like underplaying it, just more like he's ahead of his schedule. We need to be careful how we manage it. And the key word for me that he used in this press conference, I joked about it at the start, but he was really open and honest about some of the challenges we'll be expected to face without Martin Ødegaard. And he said, like, you can't replace him like for like, but we need to be more efficient without him. I'm paraphrasing that. I may have got that word for word incorrect, but when I hear him talking about that, I don't picture him playing a 17-year-old that is going to, like, as talented as he is going to take an extra 2 touches on the ball versus a more senior pro. When I hear about efficiency, I straight away think of Trossard, Havertz. Like, forget it whether you think they'll play up top together, right 8, whoever's where, like, just them as a combination, as a pair, continuously rotating between the forward zone and the kind of midfield zone. They are, in my opinion, the definition of efficiency. And that's why I think he'll opt for that as a pair. We've seen it before when Ødegaard wasn't there, and it worked really nicely. I did have an inkling that Sterling would suit these games really nicely, of Leicester, Southampton, Bournemouth from left wing. I don't think he'll go for it anymore. I think Arteta's quotes on Sterling's physicality were quite telling to me, and I think Martinelli will be rewarded for his kind of off the ball shifts, and hopefully it's the right opponents for him to get some joy and goals. And the other one was Jorginho. I've spoken about, in the absence of Ødegaard, needing a first phase controller. Usually we would get that through Zinchenko. Calafiori and Timber are more carriers than volume passers, in my opinion. And so I thought we'd have Jorginho in there in the first phase. But again, that efficiency is really stuck in my head. And I think, again, from a midfield, that's Thomas Partey. That's someone that isn't high volume, like 50 touch. Well, I don't know the number for touches, but not as many as Jorginho. That's someone that wants to get it, punch it, get it, and put it forward. Not that Jorginho doesn't, but Jorginho is more of a controller. So I think we'll see a slight tweak to how Arsenal look on the ball in this period. I'm excited. I think it's going to be more prime Liverpool in the sense of direct, fast tempo, less touches, more like quick combinations. I'm really excited. But to summarize before we look at Leicester and then score predictions, my predicted 11 as a result of that is Neto in goal for his debut, Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, Calafiori, Saka, Partey, Rice, Martinelli, Havertz, Trossard. And yours is the same, except you've got White and Raya in for Timber and Neto. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. I think if we kind of ignore those differences and let's assume that we went with the team from City plus Neto, I do think you're right that what we'll see on the ball is going to be very different. We're going to see another evolution of a way of playing or being pragmatic, and it may be more direct than we're used to, but, you know, I'm all for that. So I'm excited to see what we figure out as a way of unlocking kind of teams while we're missing Ødegaard. Just before the kind of Leicester lineup prediction and score prediction, there's a couple small things. So I think one thing that about Ethan, just going back to Ethan Nwaneri, so Arteta did say that he's ahead of where he expected him to be. So there is also that. So I do think he will get a Premier League start sooner rather than later. So I do think it is coming. The other thing was, I think you're right. I was quite surprised how blunt he was about how we have to change the way we play with Ødegaard out. Normally he's so coy about things and injuries and kind of, hiding whether people are fit or not, essentially. And he doesn't give much away. He holds his cards close to his chest. So I was quite surprised. And yeah, it just felt like, it's like, I've never seen him talk like that. So that was just a very weird thing for me.
So this is the thing for me. I think he is dependent on the quality of the questions he's asked. And again, I think there's this huge narrative from the FPL community. Just because their favorite FPL assets don't get spoken about, they generalize Arteta. He's quite open when asked the right questions. Like he said, Timber's in the squad, but because people don't have him in the FPL squads, they don't focus on that. They focus on David Raya. So I think I've always said, I think he is so misunderstood outside of Arsenal circles. But yeah, there's some good points you make.
And then just a couple of other quotes just on Marino, because I know he talked about how he might make it in the following weekend's team and stuff. But this quote really made me laugh. He said, "We're trying to keep him in the cage because he has been pushing everybody, all the physios, all the doctors, everybody." And I can just imagine, I'm sure I saw a photo of Marino and Gabriel and like the team photo together, and they're like joking and laughing. And I was like, oh, okay, like it's like standing next to your bully after he broke you.
No, honestly, like I said at the start, every Arsenal fan, go and watch this presser. It was really nice. He was very relaxed, very insightful. The quality of the questions were better. And even some of the challenging questions around the kind of narratives of last week, it was really nice to see him unfazed and unbothered. And he gave a bit of insight into what's important to him as an Arsenal manager and as an Arsenal man, and even his relationship with Pep. I just feel like that was in the interview and a presser where you got to know and connect with him as the person a little bit more. And I always love stuff like
By
that.
the way, did you see the one where he was interviewing with someone who interviewed him for his first Arsenal interview? And
I
they were
did.
looking back, right, at the
Beautiful.
clips of what he said, like when he first arrived as manager, and then like what his thoughts are on those statements he made when he first came as a 37-year-old and became manager of one of the biggest clubs. Yeah, so if anyone in the chat hasn't watched that, I recommend look out for that, because yeah, it's just these interviews this last few weeks have given me a lot of insight into him as a man.
I watch his pressers religiously, and even like interviews he's done with Guillaume Balaguer. Like, he is such a phenomenal and really interesting man. Like, he's very philosophical, and so am I. So yeah, I listen to anything I can from him. I always feel like I learn from him. But should we go and look at Leicester before we do that? Let's just shout out some of the guys that are in the chat. We've got Tommy Gunn in saying afternoon, everyone. He thinks Raya will be back for PSG, so I assume on that he's going with Neto in goal. Colm is in the chat saying, hi guys, Nima, do you have a rest day? Hit the like button, people. Appreciate that, Colm. Thank you. Tommy says fullback position is comfortably the hardest to predict. Yeah, agree with that, to be fair. And with the likes of Tomiyasu coming back, Marino coming back soon, it's only going to get harder in all areas of the pitch. Sterling building up match fitness. Tommy said Trossard with the buffet lunch in the call boxes. And he says, great to hear Marino is close. Should we look at Leicester? I don't think there's much to focus in on them. And I know it sounds arrogant, but just more, I think this is one of those games where it's a team that's likely to go down coming to the Emirates, and it will be a case of us imposing our game on them. We have to be aware of their threats. Obviously, Jamie Vardy, Mavididi in behind, like pace. We know about that. They've had a mix. Well, it's not really been a mixed start. It's been a bad start to the season. And in the EFL Cup midweek, they did heavily rotate, to be fair. But they did have to take it to penalties against Walsall, I think it was. Yeah, it was Walsall. But yeah, in the league so far, their attack is very blunt. They've only scored, 6 goals. They've conceded 8. And I know ours isn't great, but I think there's huge context around ours in the sense it was 2 teams with 10. We were playing in 2 games with 10 men for 45 minutes in each. Villa away, Spurs away, City away. But yeah, Leicester have looked toothless. I watched their first game against Tottenham. I don't know how they didn't lose that, especially that first half. But yeah, have you got anything to add on Leicester before we get into score predictions?
Yeah, just a small thing. So I've seen a lot of people talking about Vardy's record, that it's like he scored the most goals against Arsenal of anyone else in his career, and it's like something like 14 goals in 11 games or something along those lines. I just don't put like credence into that kind of thing. I'm like, it's like different seasons, different teams, both sides, Arsenal, and like everything's changed. That's a stat I really don't care for in football in general. I think it's a nice anecdotal one to know, but I don't think it impacts where we are today when so much has changed across both teams and they've been like relegated and promoted since. You know, if you're going to use that kind of justification, then Jesus starts because he got 2 goals and 2 assists against Leicester the last time we played them at home. So
it's a really good point.
You know, I don't think of that Jesus of 2 years ago in 2022, whenever it was, as the same Jesus of now. So things change very quickly in football. So I just want to put that out there firstly.
Yeah,
and then the only other thing is, I've been personally surprised that so Fatawa has not been playing. So I've been very surprised about that, because he's someone I thought would be playing a lot more for Leicester this season. And I don't know if we will see him this week as a starter or not. So that's kind of my only thing I would say, is that's like one change that I wonder if he would get into this team. But yeah, I've been surprised by that. And Ndidi, he shows up here as like a double pivot, but I do think in some of the games he has played as more of a 10. So that's also been an interesting change to his dynamics, which I didn't know he was capable of.
Nice. No, that's good insight. You've definitely watched Leicester more than I have this season. I'm taking the very...
Say that
again, sir.
I just captain against them in Fantasy Premier League.
Yeah, I'm taking that very typical arrogant supporter view of a big club where I'm just like, we'll beat them at home. And that is definitely not going to come back to bite me in the arse. So on to score predictions. You touched upon a couple of years ago. What was the score in that game? Was it 4-1?
4-2, I think.
Was it 4-2?
Yeah,
I was going to say hopefully it's the same, but yeah, that's shocking defensively. But yeah, hopefully it will be a similar day. I just remember that day. It was like scintillating football. The sun was shining. I don't think we'll get that with the state of the UK at the minute. But like you said, Jesus was on fire that day. In terms of how the game will go, I really think this will be a possession dominant display from Arsenal. I think despite with us not having Martin Ødegaard, we will look different. Like you say, I think will be, when I say direct, I don't mean long balls. I just think back to front, very quick, tempo quick, centre backs to fullbacks quick, centre backs to midfield quick, fullback to a winger quick. I think sometimes we take a lot of touches and we're very cautious with the way we build. I think we'll go through the phases very quickly. And I honestly, I think there'll be a lot of 1-2 touch combination play in the final third, really aggressive off the ball movement. I don't think they'll be able to live with us. I'm going to take it away if you don't mind. I'm feeling bullish. I'm going for a 4-0 home victory. Captain Bukayo Saka in my fantasy team.
Massive.
I think we'll get a set-piece goal as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm waiting for the third consecutive Gabriel Premier League goal. But my prediction is actually 3-0.
Okay.
So we're both like expecting a clean sheet. We're both high-flying Arsenal. I have also realized I've only predicted 1 goal against us all season, and we've been away at Aston Villa, Man City, and Spurs. So I don't know what I've been, thinking or smoking. But
you also haven't predicted us to drop any points. It's 5 games predicted, 5 wins for Neymar.
Oh my god!
Still unbeaten.
I'm so terrible. I'm so terrible. I need to. I need to predict a few like concessions of goals soon, but I don't think it will be in this game for me. So I have to stick to my gut, and 3-0 is my prediction.
Nice one. Tommy Gunn is in agreement with you. 3-0 to the Arsenal, and as he rightly points out, Mavadini even, he's an ex-Gooner, so all the best to him. Hopefully it's not too much of good luck for him, though. Hopefully he's on the losing side, but enjoys his trip back to North London. We're going to leave it there because, like I said, we're up against the clock today. But yeah, nice little 20-25 minute preview for the Leicester game. Nima and I will be back on Sunday evening to review the game. Let's hope it's a good one. Let's hope it's an entertaining game tomorrow and one of a lot less stress. I hope we just don't have any narratives. I hope we can dispel some of these narratives and myths. I'd like to have a little rant on Sunday because I'd like to think I'm someone that keeps my cool quite a lot, but I've been so wound up with some of the disingenuous discourse around Arsenal in the last week. So fingers crossed we've got a nice platform to celebrate on Sunday, and then I want to, have a little rant. Anything from you? Do you want to do your plugs and stuff?
Yeah. Just a good shout out as well to this comment from Boa Admasu. Thank you for tuning in, buddy. They say, I think Nwaneri deserves a start. It's just he had that flair when he was on the ball. The guy has a bit of Ødegaard and Wilshere. I think I totally agree. He's the most exciting player from the academy in a very long time. Whoever starts, we win 3-0. In fact, I don't think we lose in the next 5. I love that, mate. So I think we would both like Ethan to start. I think I would start him if I was manager.
Yeah,
I just personally not sure that Arteta will this week, but I do think his start will come, and maybe Southampton home is the one. But yeah, I'm excited for him. Everyone, thank you for tuning in. We'll see you guys on Sunday for the reviews Clayton mentioned. If you're new around here, please do subscribe and keep up to date with all the content we're going to be putting out.
We're nearly at 300.
I was going to say nearly 300 subs. If we can get there before the next international break, that would be amazing as a stretch target. And hopefully we'll see you guys on Sunday to enjoy the review and hopefully celebrate drop points for some of the other title challenges. We can always dream. But
Fingers crossed.
Up the Arsenal. Come on, you Gunners.
Lovely stuff. Cheers, everyone. Up the Arsenal. Come on. Let's get back to possession football and dispel these stupid narratives. Come on.
Okay.